Is Satoru Gojo a good teacher? I think this is an interesting topic because you can make the argument that him sending his students to really hard missions, such as in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, where the cursed spirit was actually a special grade curse, is absolutely reckless from his part. Since he is the guy in charge, he should ideally know what level of threat may end up being too much for his students. You can look at it either he was being too reckless by letting his students handle that situation, or you can look at it in a way that he's letting his students take charge and learn from this experience, which allowed Yuta to control Rika and unleash the dormant power of Rika. So it's literally how you look at it. You rarely see Gojo in a classroom teaching. He has these unconventional ways of teaching his students, such as teaching Yuji to control his cursed energy by watching movies so he doesn't end up getting punched to death. Or even domain expansions. He wanted Yuji to see what a domain expansion is like firsthand. So what does he do? He transports him during his fight against Jogo, who is a special graded curse, who then unleashed his own domain expansion, Coffin of the Iron Mountain, whilst Yuji was there. Now, granted, Gojo is the strongest guy in the verse and he does reassure Yuji that he will be fine. So knowing that Yuji is with the strongest guy in the verse is not as reckless when you look at it in that view. Gojo is a goofball. His nonchalant style and carefree attitude would automatically create that bias that Gojo doesn't really take teaching his students that seriously. Look at all the other characters in the verse. They mock Gojo, like Nanami straight up saying he doesn't respect Gojo. Granted, that was all tongue-in-cheek for the comedic relief, or even that moment in Jujutsu Kaisen 0 where Maki calls him a dumbass. Gojo is constantly mocked throughout the series by various characters, and to be fair, he is a funny comedic relief character in his own right. Sometimes you would think his students are more mature than him. It's this carefree attitude and along with the unusual methods of teaching that can give you the impression that he really isn't a good teacher. Do you know who he reminds me of? I'm sure a lot of you have watched or at least heard of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. There was a mentor figure in that series called Zordon. Now, Zordon was a big floating head in a tube, so he couldn't physically teach the Rangers how to fight and use the Zords. Because he was stuck in a tube, all he could do is guide them and give them advice on what to do, such as the moment where he allowed Tommy to use his energy to fight off Goldar and get the power coins back from him. Even though all the Rangers were against this idea, as it could potentially be a risk to both Tommy and Zordon. However, Zordon put his foot down in this moment and took control. This was one of those instances where Zordon took charge and didn't let the Rangers take the decision here. This is similar to Gojo in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, where he transports Inumaki and Panda back to Jujutsu High because he realized Geto's goal is to absorb Rika. Gojo took control of the situation here, and the carefree, nonchalant sensei went out the window as soon as he actually becomes serious. Zordon also knows when to step back and let the Rangers, who are essentially his students, to make the decisions, such as in the episode where Rita kidnaps the Rangers' parents and the Rangers ask Zordon for advice, as Zordon just tells them it's their decision to make, not his. Even though he can step in and tell the Rangers what to do, he chooses not to, because he wants the Rangers to make this crucial decision and learn from whatever happens coming out of that decision. This is Gojo in a nutshell as a sensei. He allows his students to make the decisions that will directly impact them, whilst also putting his foot down when he needs to, such as allowing Yuji to live. Both Gojo and Megumi wanted Yuji to live regardless of him being Sukuna's vessel in episode 2. Gojo even asks Megumi for his opinion on the situation, and when Megumi tells him to keep him safe, Gojo is like, "Don't worry, leave it to me." He trusts the actions as well as the decision making of his students, and he backs his students all the way, threatening to kill the elders because they tried to kill Yuji by sending him to a dangerous mission, or even backing Yuta in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, saying if the elders come for Yuta, he will be by Yuta's side. I feel he got this compassion and love for his students during his experience with Riko in the Gojo flashback arc, where at the beginning he didn't really care about Riko. He wanted to deliver her to Master Tengen straight away, failing to realize that Riko is still a girl and she has friends who she wants to spend time with before she fully merges with Tengen. During that arc, he truly bonds with Riko, going on a 3-day trip, going to the beach, the aquarium, just enjoying life and making sure Riko has some fun memories before the merger. Him and Geto bonded so much with Riko that they even planned to fight Master Tengen if Riko refused to merge with Master Tengen. But tragically, Riko ended up dying in the hands of Toji. This is a major turning point for his character and his style as a teacher. Gojo and Geto were on a mission to get Riko back to Master Tengen. However, they were being hunted by bounty hunters, so they decide to have a 3-day trip away from Tokyo in order to avoid the bounty hunters. Here on the mission itself, you can see Gojo is having a good time to the point where he wanted to stay on holiday. I feel this is where he learned that life is too short and that you just have to enjoy yourself whilst also having the freedom to learn and improve yourself as a Jujutsu sorcerer. Gojo, knowing that Riko only has a few days left, is now making sure she has fun in her last days. That is the reason why you see Gojo giving his students so much freedom to chill out and enjoy themselves. He knows that life can be taken away from you and that the world of Jujutsu and fighting off against these powerful cursed spirits is a massive risk, and there's a big chance that you will die. As Riko died in the hands of Toji, where both Gojo and Geto believed they had accomplished their mission and were ready to fight Master Tengen. Despite all of this assurance from both characters, Riko still ended up dead. Look at the Goodwill event. That whole tournament was sabotaged thanks to Kenjaku and the other antagonists, but Gojo made sure that the students still carried on with the event by having them play a fun lighthearted game of baseball, try and get them to forget about the carnage that was caused by the cursed spirits like Hanami and Mahito. Gojo puts his students first above everyone else. He's like an older brother to these characters, and it all came from the bond he shared with Riko, which is what shaped the compassionate side for his students. However, I think a lot of people are missing the point regarding this whole topic. Gojo isn't trying to be a teacher. He even admits it's not really teacher material. In chapter 11 and in the same chapter, he talks about his true goal of needing strong allies. He doesn't say students, he says allies, meaning he wants them to be at an equal footing alongside himself. Why do you think he lets his students do whatever they want? He provides them with the base knowledge to get them started off, such as with Yuta giving him a katana to channel his cursed energy to control Rika with it. He gave him the tool, but now it's up to Yuta to learn for himself. This is what Gojo does. He isn't trying to be a teacher at all. Gojo is already at the finishing line and is now waiting for other Jujutsu sorcerers to meet him there. By allowing his students to experience fighting against special grade curses, even though they are clearly not ready, he allows them to learn on the go, and it will be an experience for them going forward in their own lives. Just like how the death of Riko and fighting against Toji has affected Gojo on his outlook on life. Because of his fight against Toji, he was able to learn how to use reverse curse technique. He knows from his own experience that only in tough and dangerous situations, Jujutsu sorcerers will grow their power and become stronger. That is what he wants his students to have, the experience being in dangerous situations, so that one day they will be strong enough to change the Jujutsu world. Gojo is not a teacher. He's more of a big brother than a teacher. But what do you guys think? I'm interested in hearing your thoughts below. Is Gojo a good or a bad teacher? Or is he even a teacher at all? Comment below and let me know. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the Shaman Tribe.